Okay, so a pleasant afternoon, everyone. We are gathered here today to discuss the last topic for this subject, which includes all about the things we learned today about global citizenship and research paper writing. So here are the members of this group. We have Miss Monet Panta, Mr. Jed Basogon, John Ray Fababier, Rex Tagibaw, Wendrick Vasquez, and yours truly, Castillo Dionaji.
So good afternoon again. So for our first topic, which is global citizenship, we have two learning outcomes, which are the first, articulate a personal definition of global citizenship. The second one is the appreciate the ethical obligation of global citizenship. So first, I'm going to discuss about the definition of global citizenship and also the global citizenship responsibilities. So first, let us define what is citizenship. So I've put five definitions of citizenship. So the first bullet, membership in a political community or legal member of a sovereign state. Second one, Greek ideas, equality under the law, civic participation in government, power restrictions. Third bullet, to be truly human, one had to be an active citizen. The fourth bullet, rights and duties, political participation, right to vote, right to receive protection. The last one, classical civic humanist conception, citizen as an active process, not a passive state. So yun, yung citizenship is associated siya sa rights, obligation, tsaka responsibilities natin as a human or as an individual. So yung mga example ng mga rights, responsibilities, obligation na yun is yan. Yung rights to vote, itong right to receive protection, yung obligation natin para magbayad ng mga taxes, yung pag-obey natin or pagsunod sa mga laws tsaka mga alituntunin sa sovereign state na kinabibilangan natin. So itong mga rights, responsibilities, and obligations na to, ito yung nagko-connect sa atin bilang individual dun sa political community na kinabibilangan natin. And also, naapektuhan din ito yung behavior tsaka attitude natin kasi we need to be willing to engage and give our effort to the community kasi nga part nga tayo nun. So yun, parang when we are talking about the community, parang local scale lang yung scope nun. So paano natin siya malilink or makakonect pag global scale na yung tinatakal natin. So doon na papasok si global citizenship. Pero first, may isip nyo through globalization pero magkaiba kasi silang bagay. Yung globalization kasi parang nagpo-focus siya sa economics, business, tsaka sa pera. While yung global citizenship kasi is nagpo-focus sa identity tsaka sa values. So yun. Next slide. So yun, ito, global citizenship is a way of living that recognizes our world is an increasingly complex web of connections and interdependencies, one in which our choices and actions may have repercussions for people and communities locally, nationally, or internationally. A global citizen is someone who identifies with being part of an emerging world community and whose actions contribute to building this community's values and practices, according to Ronald C. Israel. So yun, yung global citizenship is all about shared values and shared responsibilities. In broad broad na term, ano siya, shared human experience. Kasi nga, kahit anong pinaniniwalaan mo, saan ka man galing sulok ng mundo, saan ka naman nakatira, we still stand on a common ground na, ayun, iisa lang tayong lahat. May common goal tayo, parang ganun siya. And also, ayun, yung global citizenship din kasi is nagpo-foster tsaka nagpo-promote ng international understanding. So, paano yung napopromote yung international understanding? So, yun, parang yung common reasoning about that is, yun, the more na may nalalaman tayong bago sa isa't isa or the more na may nadi-discover, parang the more na mafe-feel natin na gusto natin ma-maintain, ma-sustain, ma-make sure yung peace na nangyayari sa buong mundo, peace, progress, tsaka yung prosperity na nangyayari sa buong mundo. And by that, makakamit natin yung common desire ng global citizenship, which is yung ma-prevent yung war. Ayun. Tapos yun, yung citizenship din, global citizenship din is ano siya, hindi siya sagot sa lahat ng global issues. Pero ano naman siya, parang powerful tool din siya nowadays kasi nga we can build a more sustainable, resilient, tsaka compassionate world through global citizenship. Kasi yun, everyone can play an important part naman kahit ikaw na nakikinig. You have the power to speak your voice. Kasi nga sabi dito, one in which our choices yon. Yung mga choices sa action natin is pwedeng makaapekto hindi lang sa mga tao tsaka sa komunidad na kinabibilangan natin. Pwede rin siya yan, nationally, internationally. So yan, next one. So moving forward tayo sa global citizenship responsibilities. So may nilagay akong 8, I believe. So yun, yung una doon is understand one's own perspective and the perspective of others on global issues. So yun, alam naman natin na kada isa sa atin is may sariling pananaw, opinion, perspektibo sa certain na nangyayari or sa problemang nangyayari sa mundo. So yun, bilang ano na lang, global citizenship holder, mag-act tayo as a problem solver. Wag na tayong parang mag-add ng fuel dun sa fire na nangyayari. So, paano siya magagawa? Parang iwasan na lang natin mag-take ng isang side o isang perspective without considering the other opinions of people. Then, ayun, mag-ano na lang tayo, mag-create or hanap tayo ng common ground solution so that, yun, ma-bring natin lahat ng sides together and ma-avoid yung mga chaos tsaka misunderstanding na pwedeng mangyari. Next one naman is make connections and build relationships with people from other countries and cultures. So, kung dati nagagawa lang to or possible lang to through traveling talaga, as in face-to-face mo makikita, tas yun, usap, ganun. Ngayon, through technology, through the help of internet, napakadali na lang. So, ayun, through social media, we can communicate, interact, socialize with other countries, and by that, we can build some connections. The third one, understand the ways in which people and countries of the world are interconnected and interdependent. So, ano siya, deeper understanding or realization na lahat ng nangyayari sa buong mundo is nakakaapekto kung paano ka mamuhay ngayon. Like, ganyan ka ba mamuhay ngayon kung di tayo nakawala sa Spanish colonialism, ganun. Parang ganun siya. Or kaya, yung mga batas na existing, like, yung kware, dito sa Pilipinas, legal gumamit ng kutsara, pero sa isang certain na bansa, illegal yung paggamit ng kutsara. So, ganun siya. Kailangan maintindihan yung ways ng pamumuhay ng iba't ibang tao sa iba't ibang lugar, bansa, ganun. Next, advocate for greater international cooperation with other nations, advocate for the implementation of international agreements, convention, treaties related to global issues, advocate for more effective global equity and justice in each of the value domains of the world community. So yun, parang sinasabi lang, as a global citizenship holder, we can use our voice to um, to advocate these three, yung mga sinasabi dito, like, para yung leader naman sa natin is not, hindi gumawa ng decision or di gumawa ng unilateral decision na pwedeng mag-cause ng or pwede mag-create ng panibagong problem. So parang ganun lang siya nag-work. So yung last naman, respect the principle of cultural diversity. So yun, respeto, pinaka-importante naman sa lahat. And yun, lahat naman tayo may iba-ibang pininiwalaan, tradisyon. So, just respect cultural differences na lang. So, hindi rin naman siya ma-attain agad. Like, pinanganak ka, sige, alam mo na yung dapat may respeto. So, we must make an effort para doon. And yun, by that, we can have a better community to live in. So, that's all for global citizenship.
So after the understanding the global citizenship, let us know what is the four types of global citizenship. So next slide, please. So first, we have the political global citizenship, which is stated that the relationship that holds between co-citizens must be a political relationship, whether or not it involves institution of government in their familiar form. So in political it focuses on the relationship of individual to the estate and other polities. So, yun yung nagiging connection ng bawat individual natin sa true polit true politics. So, next is the economic, which is the financial capability, awareness of social and economic rights, access to safe and appropriate financial services, and active financial and social and livelihood education. So sa economic naman, it focuses on the interplay between capital, labor, resources, often international development focus. So sa economic naman, dito naman pumapasok yung mga ah, yung economy natin, kung ah, paano tayong sa economy natin, paano tayo paano natin nawo-work through yung economy natin. So next please po. Next, we have the moral. It can be guide in the understanding of individuals or groups of local and global contexts, remind them of their relative responsibilities within various institutions, and groups, often on human rights. So sa moral, dun pumapasok yung sa uh, engagement of global citizen to the human rights. And next is the cultural global citizenship. It is associated with the multicultural societies comprising a cultural community that regard itself as the majority and minority cultural communities. So yung cultural, it focuses on the unity division of members of society, including arts, media, languages, and sciences. So, sa cultural naman, dito na pumapasok yung mga ah, traditions natin ng buong mundo or ng bawat country. And also sa cultural din yung mga traits na ipinapakita natin. So next is yan, global citizen. Next po. So, what is global citizen? Someone who identifies with being part of an emerging world, community, and whose actions contribute to building these community buildings and practices. So, sa global citizen naman, ang tinutukoy dito is tayo. Tayong tao, normally. It is kung paano tayo yung tinutukoy na global citizen. Yan, there are values of global citizen. First is diversity, interdependence, and empathy and respective. So, yan. Next na. Yan. How to become a global citizen. So first, you should get inspired. Next is broaden your perspective. So, yan yung, sa broaden your perspective, dyan pumapasok yung curiosity by getting to know the places and people that fascinate you. So, dito, pwede din na if you take courses and start building knowledge of different cultures, ideas, and ways of life. Join international clubs, learn a new language, or make friends with people from other parts of the world who have come to live in your community. And also, pwede din na mag-exchange kayo ng cultural stories, recipes, and travel tips. And next is connect with other people. So, when you say connect with other people, ito naman is yung uh, you should hindi, pwede kang makihalubilo sa iba't ibang kung sa iba't ibang community to have the idea of their culture and other traditions and aspire to become a leader. So dito naman, it develops your abilities to organize or lead international travels group. Plan your own trips and coordinate responsible group travel and study options with your peers. Yan. It is also a great way to get more involved with the international community. And lastly is to stay informed. So when you say stay informed, uh, you should read globally minded news sources and pay attention to current events in places you'd potentially like to visit. Engage in conversation about other parts of the world. And exposing yourself to global trends and global conversations will help you narrow down the areas and issues you care most about. So sa stay informed, if you want to travel sa ibang lugar, dapat hindi ka pupunta dun ng wala kang idea kung paano sila magsalita or paano sila makihalubilo sa tao. Dapat you should have the idea na, ganito pala yung pupuntahan ko. So, I should be ready na with it na. So, yun. And that is for all the global citizenship. Thank you.
So next is the global citizenship. This is the characteristics of global citizenship, active citizen rights, and global governance. Next slide, please. So, yes, next slide, please. So here's the topic, the global citizenship, active global rights, global governance. So global citizenship. As we all know, global citizenship is the umbrella term for social, political, environmental, and economic actions of globally minded individuals and communities on a worldwide scale. So what does it mean to be a global citizen? So being a global citizen is someone who is aware of and understands the wider world and their place in it. They are citizens of the world. They take an active role in their community and work with others to make our planet more peaceful, sustainable, and fairer. So, naglagay ako ng 5 characteristics ng global citizenship. So, first is the exploring local and global connections and our views, values, and assumptions. Next is exploring issues of social justice locally and globally. Next is exploring the complexity of global issues and engaging with multiple perspectives. And next is applying learning to real world issues and contexts. And last, opportunities to make informed, reflective actions and be hard. So, bilang parte ng global citizen, exploring or making yourself familiar to the things that are happening around your surrounding ay kinakailangan hindi lamang para magka-ideya ka sa mga bagay-bagay, kundi para alam ang mga maaaring sagot sa mga problemang posibleng harapin ng bawat isa. So, next slide please. So, here's the rights of active citizens. So, active citizenship is important to a democracy and it takes It can take many forms. A successful democracy relies on everyday ways citizens help each other and society. So sometimes this can mean fundraising for important social issues or organizing a protest against a government policy. Other times, this means making your community better by treating each other fairly and equally. Everybody has a role to play. So active citizen is a concept that covers both the right and responsibilities of the citizen. So core values and active citizen include participation and belonging to a caring community. Advocates urge people to pursue the public above their narrower interests of their private lives. They encourage people to be more involved in their neighborhoods, their social groups, and global communities to change the world for the better. And active citizen can refer to a broad range of activities including petitioning, protesting, voting, and volunteering for charities. And one of the most important examples of active citizen is taking part of democratic process. Any action that promotes the sustains democracy is at the core of active citizenship. It can be partisan or non-partisan. So here's the here's the rights of being an active citizens. They can vote, they can listen to other ideas and offer their own ideas. They can participate in things like public meetings, social groups, communities, and councils. They can help their society by doing good to help others. They can help their neighbors. They can speak out against hatred, injustice, inequality. They can keep their environment clean, pick up garbage, don't litter, and they can try to make their communities a better place for everyone. So next. So here in global governance. Global governance is a purposeful order that emerges from institutions, processes norms, formal agreements, and informal mechanisms that regulate actions for a common good. Global governance encompasses activity at the international, transitional, and regional levels and refers to activities in the public and private sectors that transcend the national boundaries. In this conception of global governance, cooperative action is based on rights and rules that are informed through a combination of financial and moral incentives. In the absence of single authoritative institution or world government structure, global governance is comprised as elements and methods from both the public and private sectors. These basic elements include agreed upon standards, evolving norms based on shared values, and directive issued and enforced by states. Methods of global governance include harmonization of laws among states, international regimes, global policy issue networks, and hybrid institutions that combine function of state agencies and private sector organizations. So from the word itself, global governance, the global governance is a group of people who held meeting for a cause of global peace and understanding. So as we all know, United Nations is the leading institution in charge for global governance today. So United Nations, it was founded at 1945 in the wake of the Second World War as a way of prevent future conflicts on that scale. The United Nations does not directly bring together the people of the world, but sovereign nation states and currently counts 193 members who make a recommendation through the UN General Assembly. The UN's main mandate is to preserve global security, which it does particularly through the Security Council. In addition, the UN can settle international through the International Court of Justice and implements its key decision through the Secretariat led by Secretary General. So, beyond the UN, other institutions with a global mandate play an important role in global governance. Of primary importance are so-called Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank, and the IMF, whose function is to regulate the global economy and make and credit markets. Those institutions are not without their critics for this reason, being often blamed for maintaining economic equality. So, in summary, global governance is essential but fragmented, complex, and little understood. In this context, the key questions raised by the Global Challenges Foundation are how to reform institution, how to develop alternative institution, and how to use the new possibilities of technology to improve governance.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I am your next reporter. So, first is Modeling United Nations, a popular activity for people who are interested in discovery operation inside the United Nations. So, not more modeling. Basically, isa siyang international activity kung saan inaalaw ni UN ang mga estudyante na may interest sa operation ng mga UN mismo. So, the main object is to strengthening diplomacy. So, ang diplomacy is unity kasi ang diplomacy keep the world in the peace and prevent the war. So, dapat natin siyang pagtibayin ang diplomacy ng Pilipinas. So, kailangan natin pagtibayin ang diplomacy ng Pilipinas. Then, visits UN conferences. So, next is university with international studies course are being invited to Model UN. So, to being a student leader are the most participants for all over the world. Nag-operate siya through workshop katulad ng pagbisita sa UN conference para sa may kita how the UN operate. Pinaka-common kasi dyan is, example natin is university with international study courses are being invited to be a model in UN. So, next is uh, modeling United Nations simulation and how decisions are made in the UN. So, humango naman tayo sa kung paano nga ba tumatakbo ang model UN at paano nga ba sila nag-decision sa loob ng UN. So, next is first is debating. Discuss UN's priorities, issues, and main goal is to take action for those issues. So, ito yung proseso is, yung una is debating. Unang pag-uusapan ang priority issue ay organize ng plano sa mga mag-organize ng plano para mag-take tayo ng action toward these issues. Then second is negotiating member state must reach an agreement and consensus and resolution needs to be approved by UN Security Council. So, ang pangalawa is negotiating. Member states ng UN ay yung countries na may 193 countries at dapat makabuo sila ng agreement at sunduan. So, pagkatapos ng mga trabaho naman ng mga UN Security Council ay mag-approve ng mga resolution na ihahain. Then, second is decision making. Decision making can be done by means of voting on consensus, and voting is required even if only one member state requested. So, ang process naman ng decision making is sa UN ay pwedeng through voting or consensus. May proseso sila na kunyari kapag nag-agreement ang lahat, isang kasunduan o agreement, then the case is closed. Pero kapag kahit isang member ng states na nag-request ng voting, kailangan nila magbotohan. So, ito ang resolution by dalawa lang is which is vote and consensus. Sa vote is it's either majority win tapos consensus is negotiating required. So basically sa vote naman ay basically mananalo kapag mananalo yung karamihan. So sa consensus naman is deliberation, negotiation para maka-reach ng agreement ang mga lahat. Basically kapag consensus dapat agree ang lahat sa isang desisyon. Then, dako tayo sa next topic natin which is introduction to written as a research paper. Mm, writing a research paper. Next is first is research paper, a technical paper that enhance written skill, and French term against repeat. French term research to seek, discover, know. Intensive and systematic investigation and should answer uncommon issue. So, sa pagsulat ng academic paper ay nakatulong sa atin lalo na sa mga estudyante tayo kasi skill to na di lang makakatulong sa ating writing skills kundi pati na rin sa comprehension skills. So, nakakatulong din para maintindihan ng mga nagre-resolba ang mga global or world issues na kinakaharap ng ating mundo ngayon. So, nagre-research tayo para uh, alamin at sagutin ng mga katanungan at walang so nagre-research tayo para alamin at sagutin ng mga katanungan na walang kasagutan. Then next is importance and advantage. So sa importance is to enhance critical thinking skill, to improve writing skill, to unrival curiosity, to explore reality, to learn budgeting, to develop interpersonal skill, to investigate the history of the world. And advantage naman is experience outside world, get to encounter technical, academic, and real world problem. So build wider perspective, ability to think outside the box, experience publishing academic paper. So yan lang yung mga parts ng importance at advantage ng isang research paper. Yun lang po ang aking report. Thank you po. I hope you listen and let's move to the next reporter. Thank you.
So, yun, thank you, Mr. Vasquez, for discussing the introduction of a research paper. And now, I am Janry Pabubir, and I will discuss the parts of a research paper. In this topic, I will discuss only the essential parts of a research paper. This is the part of research na di pwedeng mawala in our research paper. So, in research paper, we have three major parts: the preliminary parts, the body of the thesis, and the end matters. So first is the preliminary parts. In preliminary parts, we have the title. So title summarize the main idea or ideas of your study. So title is the start of our research paper. So as indicated in bullet number 1, it summarized the main idea or ideas of our study. So, a good title contains the fewest possible words that adequately describe contents and purpose of your research paper. It should be accurately captured what you have done. It should sound to the people who want in the same topic and should contain the important title keywords that other research use when looking for literature database. So, yun nga, yung ating title should be accurate because it can benefit the other researcher who work on the same topic and looking for literature or information for their research. So, next is abstract. Abstract is ito yung is a written summary or a written summary of important points in our research paper. Next is the body of the thesis. So, body of a thesis have a chapter 1 to 5 format. And meron din naman na ibang format ang research paper depende sa required gamitin. Meron tayong chapter 1 to 7 and meron din tayo na tinatawag na IMRD or ito yung Introduction, Materials and Method, Result, and Discussion. Pero ang i-discuss ko ngayon is yung essential part of a chapter 1 to 5. So first is the chapter 1. Chapter 1 is the problem and its background. So In chapter 1, nakapaloob dito yung background of the study, statement of the problem, significance of the study, objective of the study, scope and limitation of the study, and the definition of terms. So, background of the study or introduction. The first section of research paper contains the rationale and key problem statement and the brief overview of research questions that are addressed in a rest of the paper. So, sa background of the study includes the purpose and reasons behind the conduct of the study. And it will serve as our introduction, and this part is kailangan nating makonvince yung mga reader, especially yung panel, na may pangangailangan talaga yung ating research. So, next is the statement of the problem or yung ating SOP. The main problem that the researcher is trying to solve. Points the important question that the study needs to answer. So, SOP, it is sometimes called the research question because this is the part indicates the problem of our study in a form of a question presenting the problem. Next is the significance of the study. So it identifies who will benefit in the study and how they will be benefited. So, dito naka-enumerate yung mga makikinabang sa ating study and also paano magbe-benefit or paano sila makikinabang sa ating research. And it should match in the recommendation. Next is the objective of the study. This part is where you discuss what you want to find out in a research. Describe what your research project intends to accomplish. So, objective of the study is ito yung parts na kailangan nating indicates yung ating objective or yung mga bagay na kailangan nating ma-find out. And next is the scope and limitation. So, yung scope and limitation determines the coverage of the study and all the things that it will not cover in order to be specific. So, yung scope is discusses kung sino at ano ang mga kasama sa ating study. Like, the local scope, kung saan kinonduct yung ating study, and also, sino yung ating mga respondent. Yung limitation naman is, ito yung nagdi-discuss ng mga exclusion or mga di kasama sa ating topic. And the last part of chapter 1 is the definition of terms. Definition of terms defines the technical terms based on how they used or in the study specifically in the title. So, dito sa parts nito is marami talagang nalilito. And isa na rin ako doon. Kasi nung high school ako is ang nilagay namin sa aming definition of terms is definition from dictionary and Webster. Kahit naman hindi ito related dun sa paano namin ginamit yung words sa aming research. And kailangan talaga na yung definitions is related kung paano natin ginamit yung words sa research. So, next is the chapter 2. Or ito din yung ating RRL or Review of a Related Literature. It provides the reader with a comprehensive review of a literature related to the problem under investigations. So, chapter 2 is ito yung pag-collect ng mga related and relevant literature na sa tingin natin is mahalaga sa ating study to further strengthen the importance of our study. So, next is the chapter 3. chapter 3 is the method and processes. Methodology section, it should reiterate the research question and the hypothesis. Present in a research design, discuss the participant, the instrument to be used, the procedure, the data analysis plan, and the sample size justification. Refers to a set of methods or step-by-step procedures of a whole research processes. So, sa chapter 3, is dito natin makita yung method of research, subject of study, description of research instrument, data gathering procedure, and the statistical treatment applied. So, first is the method of research. The kind of research used by your study. This answer why the method used is appropriate for the study. So, method of research will indicate in this in this part, we will indicate the kind of we use if the method we use if it is quantitative, qualitative, and quasi-experimental, or what it also answer the method used in appropriate for the study. Sa objective of study or yung subject of study. Describe your respondent, who they are, what their profile is, and where they are from. So, sa subject of the study is dito natin ilalagay yung mga info ng ating mga respondent, like their names, address, age, and etc. So, next is the description of instrument. Describe your research instrument. So, the usual instrument na madalas ginagamit is yung questionnaire. And kailangan na related din yung laman ng mga research instrument dun sa ating study. So, data gathering procedures. Narrates the process undergone by the study that eventually leads to the findings. So, sa data gathering procedures, ito yung mga procedures na ginawa natin para magkaroon ng findings at matapos yung ating study. And also, paano na-gather yung ating data and ilalagay natin dito yung mga step-by-step process kung paano natapos yung ating study. And the last part of a chapter 3 is the statistical treatment. So, it includes your statistical treatment that you will use, which include your sampling method and formulas to come up. So, dito is kailangan na natin ng mga statistician para natin itong part na to. So, next is chapter 4, the presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. So, chapter 4 is this chapter review the result and analysis of a quantitative data, the compilation of the questionnaires, and the result and analysis of quantitative findings of the study. So, nandito na nakatabulate yung ating mga data, yung mga informations na lahat ng mga information na ating na-gather. So, it presents all the data gathered using the questionnaires by tabulating all the gathered information. So, yun na nga. So, aside from the table, interpretation of each presented data should follow. So, kung maglalagay tayo ng table, dapat meron din tayong interpretation nung data na nasa table. So, this will serve as the basis of your summary of findings. So, yun nga, yung result ng study natin, yun ang magiging basis natin for our summary of findings na nasa chapter 5. So, yun. And the last part of a body of the thesis is the chapter 5. The summary of findings summarize the interpretation of data given in chapter 4. This should be directly answer your statement of the problem. So, yun nga, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina na dito natin isa-summarize yung mga data na nandun sa chapter 4. And also, this is directly answer our SOP or yung ating research question. And so, next is the conclusion. Out of findings, your conclusion are based. This provides the answer for better statement of the problem. This is where you will prove your hypothesis and assumption. So, next is the recommendation, or this is the last part of chapter 5. It should be directly based on a significant of our study, or it is based on our SOP. So, it includes the recommended action that should be done after the conduct of our study. And for the last part of our research paper is the end matters. So sa end matters is dito na natin makita yung reference tsaka appendices. So reference, a detailed description of a source of information that you want to give credit to via a citation. Allows you to acknowledge the contribution of other writers and researchers in your work. So dito na natin i-acknowledge yung mga source and contributors sa ating research. So, appendices. Appendices is a section that academic writings with non-essential information of topic that still might be helpful for the reader. So, sa appendices is dito na natin i-indicate yung mga non-essential informations or yung mga hindi na ganun ka-importante information but still might be helpful for the readers. So, yun lang. And disclaimer lang that the parts of a research may vary depending on a type of research we are conducting and research we are conducting. It can be also depend on a guidelines institution we are follow. And that's all for my discussion. And I hope you learn. Thank you. And next reporter will be Ms. Castillo, who will discuss the step in writing research paper. And that's all. And I hope you learn. Thank you.
Ayan, now we have here the steps in writing a research paper. So of course, if we're gonna talk about research paper writing, we also need to include the steps in writing a proper research paper. So the question is, how do we write a research paper? And there are various ways to formulate a whole research paper, and it might be difficult in conducting a research. Starting with the first one, the first and one of the most important thing you need to include in writing a research paper is rather difficult now, depending on your situation. It can be scientist, historian, professor, or a student. But since the most relatable situation we have now is being a student doing a research paper, so dito natin siya i-relate. If you are a student, you will be given by your professor such limitations in your research, like your significance of the study, the respondents, or the project itself. Dito kasi kinakailangan mo maghanap ng topic na ayon syempre sa naka-assign na limitation na binigay sa inyo. At syempre kung ano sa tingin mo, yung makakaya mo or yung makakaya ng mga ka-group mo um, na mahanap doon sa research paper. Especially kung saan mag-enjoy yung mga kagrupo nyo. So here, select a topic set by the assignment, personal interest, or that can be manageable for you to find information and make sure na original yung topic na kukunin nyo. Next is you need to identify the problem of your research. So the critical step, need mo talaga i-found out ng mabuti is yung paghanap mo ng problem ng research nyo. Kasi mawawala ng point yung research mo if wala yung problem, di ba? So why look for something na wala namang purpose? You need to identify the purpose of your research, the issue, or your problem of your research. So by doing so, you will be able to formulate the title of your research. Next is do a preliminary search for information which will lead to hypotheses. So upon doing a preliminary search about your research, lalabas dito yung iba't ibang mga ideas and answers na makatutulong na mahanap yung pinakasagot ng research problem nyo. So with this act then, pwede ka na makahanap ng mga references na magagamit nyo in formulating your introduction and maybe yung mga references na maaaring yung gamitin sa RRL nyo. And with your preliminary search, maaari na kayo mag-formulate ng hypothesis nyo kasi sa pagsimula nyo ng ng paggawa ng process ng paggawa nyo ng research paper. Next is you have to locate, gather, and scan your materials of choice. So after ng preliminary research nyo, at meron na kayong na buong problem, you may start with your chapter 2 now, which includes your RRL or review of related literature. So this will help your research become stronger and can help you sturdy your stand. So magkakaroon ng support yung study mo and may give a preliminary solution to your research paper, which is a big help in creating your experiment or on gathering answers. And of course, after that, you need to scan the materials na na-collect mo. Kasi bakit kailangan natin siyang scan? Number one is kung related ba sa study nyo yung nahanap yung references. Second is kung proven or verified ba yung mga materials nyo. Kasi dito talaga nagkakatali. What if yung mga nakuha yung research or nakuha yung mga materials is hindi naman pala totoo or fake news lang pala? Edi maapektuhan dito yung research paper nyo. Third is if within 5 to 20 years ba yung publication date na nakuha yung materials. Kasi as far as I remember, the maximum year na kaya or pwedeng gamiting RLL nyo is within 20 years lang. Actually, nagdi-differ to depending on your instructor's choice kasi yung ibang mga professor or ibang mga teacher, ang hinihiling nila is like, dapat ang kunin nyo lang research paper or materials is within 10 years of publication date. And next, after you have scanned your materials, you need to evaluate your sources. Evaluate it according to the flow of your research kasi dito magkakaroon ng proper organization yung research nyo. So kung dito mabubuo yung paano magiging flow ng RLL nyo starting from related research or related topics na nahanap nyo sa references nyo. Hanggang sa mapunta kayo sa point na nasagot na yung problem ng research nyo. And of course, huwag nyo kalilimutan mag-jot down notes while doing your research kasi hindi lang ito makakatulong sa pag-formulate ng research nyo. But you may also use it once you have defended your research. The ninth step will be creating the draft of your paper. So of course, you can consider your research paper as the original or finished one, kahit nasa chapter 2 pa lang kayo. Of course, magiging draft pa lang siya, manuscript draft. Kasi since 100% akong sure na lagi magkakaroon ng revisions yan. Next is data collection and data analysis. So in data collection naman, siya sa mga importanteng step kasi dito manggagaling partly yung sagot sa issue ng research nyo. So here are the listed sources na pwede nyo gamitin upon gathering data. Number 1 is through experiment. Second is by providing questionnaires to your respondents. Third is by merely observation. Meron tayong specific dyan na data gathering procedure for observation. As far as I remember, ginagamit siya mostly sa mga science investigatory project. And lastly is through interview. And then after your data gathering procedure, you are required to analyze the data that you have collected. Siyempre, titignan nyo kung nag-correlate ba siya sa hypothesis nyo, kung nasagot na ba yung problem nyo, or kung may kailangan pa kayong idagdag na magpapatibay sa research nyo. Moving on, the next step is cite your sources properly and revise. So, dun muna tayo sa cite your sources properly. Yun. As a good and respectable researcher, one must cite their sources properly, or they shall be accused of plagiarism and intellectual information theft. So this will give credits kasi sa mga authors and other researchers na nakatulong sa pag-formulate ng study nyo by or through the materials that you have collected. So yung mga authors ng mga materials, references, articles, journals na kinolect nyo para sa RRL nyo, magbibigyan na sila ng credit. So then we need to revise the research paper lang. Only if it is necessary. Ayan. So dito i-check nyo dapat na maayos kung maayos na ba yung format ng paper nyo, kung na-acknowledge ba na maayos yung mga sources nyo, na-paraphrase nyo ba na maayos yung mga paragraphs or mga point nyo. Then you can now conclude your research. The last step that you need to include in writing a research paper is proofread and edit your manuscript. So you need to edit the necessary parts that needs to be fixed immediately. So kapag may nakita na kayong error, palitan or i-fix nyo na agad kasi ang most cases dyan na mangyayari is pwede nyo makalimutan yung mga error na nakita nyo. Like, isasantabi nyo muna siya, ganun. Makakalimutan nyo yan agad. And pag nakita nyo ng mga panelists nyo na may error na or may mali dun sa part ng research nyo, pwede itong gamitin butas nila. And then, ang mangyayari dun is pwedeng ma-debunk yung defend nyo. Or pwede kayong baka ang mangyari dyan is ipaparevise pa sa inyo yung research nyo, tsaka uulitin nyo pa yung defend nyo. And then, magiging hassle yun sa inyo. Yan. So, read through the text and check for any errors in spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Make sure the sources you use are cited properly and make sure the messages that you want to get across to the reader has been truly stated. And that will be all for our lesson. We hope that you have gained knowledge in global citizenship and was able to refresh your mind in research paper. So we thank you all for listening